Hey guys, welcome to episode 11.
11
We're
of the Mind Method.
Past the 10 episode milestone.
Yeah.
We have a legend and powerhouse in the real estate community, Rhea Campbell, with us. So excited to talk to you. Rhea, thank you so much for coming on. For those of our viewers who don't know you, tell us a bit about yourself.
What an amazing intro. So thank you. Wow. A legend and a powerhouse. I don't know if that's all accurate and true, but thank you for the warm welcome. And I have to tell you guys, I'm delighted to be here. I feel so grateful that I get to know both of you. Tamar, you and I are just getting to know each other, but I had the privilege of having dinner with your husband and attending a meetup in Canada, my home country, recently. And it was just absolutely delightful. So thank you for having me here. I appreciate it. So my name is Rhea Campbell. I'm a 22-year commercial real estate veteran. I worked in tenant representation for the first 5 years with CB Richard Ellis. And then I ran my own company for the remainder of that time up until 2023. And in 2023, I started investing in hard assets, real estate. I started with some single family homes just to structure some deals more creatively and realized very quickly that's not where I wanted to be, and transitioned out into commercial real estate, which is really my background. I'm a lender. I'm a borrower. I'm a sponsor. I own a hotel. I run a land business. And I recently sold my medical company. I run a direct primary care or concierge medicine business with 5 locations here in Chicago. And my husband and I recently exited to private equity. So that was kind of a life-changing moment. So I do a little bit of everything. I'm really kind of just a crazy entrepreneur, I guess is the best way to describe it.
And she said she's not a powerhouse.
Yeah, not a powerhouse.
Crazy entrepreneur, I think, is maybe better terminology. I have a lot of energy that needs to be burned.
Amazing, which is what you need to be an entrepreneur these days. You need to have the drive and the energy to get up and get after your goals. And I mean, Rhea, I've met you. I mean, we only met in person recently, but we had, connections through the Sub 2 community. And I had heard of you. Your reputation precedes you, and all the things that you have been accomplishing on top of the 22 years in commercial real estate, but only in a short period of time within the Sub 2 community, in building your reputation and affecting the lives of other people, and in being a leader in the community is truly remarkable. So first of all, kudos to you for being a leader in the space. That's a huge deal. I love seeing a Canadian leading in the U.S. Real estate community, which is awesome. Shout out to Pace. But also women like my wife and yourself. I really take a lot of joy in seeing women who are elevated and accomplished and really crushing it in their niche and in their field. So kudos to you. We want to ask you all about it. So we want to hear from you, literally everything, I guess, mindset related in your journey. So how did your mindset play a role in how you've achieved success? And what would you attribute it to? Are there certain things that you did along the way? Let's start there.
Yeah. Boy, okay. So mindset. This is my husband always kind of, he jokes with me because he says, Rhea, mindset. And the reason that he uses the air quotes is because I never thought about mindset, not even once in my entire life. So I'm going to take you back. So I'm an alpha, right? I just have an alpha personality. I grew up with 2 older brothers, right, Tamar? And I've always been an action taker. I've always been someone that says, well, I mean, I'll try it out. And what's the worst that can happen? But at the same time, right, listen, I live a life of privilege. I'm very lucky, right? I was born into a family that gave me all of the support, paid for me to go to college. I didn't come out with debt. I'm married to a wonderful man who was a physician. We had a great education. So we already have a significant leg up, right? So let's be honest. But I didn't believe that I had mindset issues because I had a lot of room to move around in whatever that box was that I was in. And because I had success, what I deemed as success, right? Before I was in commercial real estate, I worked for Fairmont Hotels and Resorts and for Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts. And I had a nice corner office and I made a decent living, and we would make a bonus. Like you might make, 90, 100,000, and your bonus could be 50. I think one year it was 55,000, right? That was like really good money long ago. And you're in a corner office and you're traveling on company expenses, right? That looks successful. But I will tell you guys, it was like, you're wearing, it's like you wear a loose shirt, but it doesn't really feel like it fits. That never felt like it fit for me. So I always had these entrepreneurial tendencies that I had not explored. And then once I shifted into commercial real estate and I was really able to get my feet underneath me, I will say it was sort of pseudo entrepreneurial, because working for CB Richard Ellis, you're still working for a big flag, big brand, but you have to hunt what you kill. So it's pseudo entrepreneurial, not until I went out and started my own business. But remember, at the same time, I had a husband who worked at the University of Chicago as a physician leader. So he had a W-2 job with golden handcuffs. So I really, again, I had a safety net, never had complete risk. It wasn't until he decided to leave the University of Chicago that I was an entrepreneur and he was fully an entrepreneur, that we were then in the world of, hey, like you have to make all of this happen. But where the mindset shift happened, because it didn't happen even at that point, I started to get more comfortable with risk and money. Because remember, I come from a family where my father was a Depression era baby. And so you save your money and you hope that you have enough at retirement, and $3-4 million at retirement. You live off your whatever the 4% that you have to draw from your RRSPs or your 401k here, and you're going to live a comfortable retirement. But like comfortable, like I like to swing for the fences. Like I want to be more than comfortable. And it's not even about the money. It's about the scorecard, right? It's about the dopamine hit. It's about the leveling up. It's about the growth, right? The proof in the growth. And so what happened for me is in 2023, January of 2023, I looked around and said, there has to be more to what I'm doing. And I don't feel like I'm functioning. I don't feel like I'm using all of my capabilities. And I think I need to do things differently. And I don't remember kind of how it all happened, but I joined a mentorship. I then joined a whole bunch of other mentorships because I realized the value of buying kind of the speeding up the learning by sort of buying it, right? Your own self-education. And it was through that experience that I took a look around and realized, wow, like I've set my sights too low. And I only knew that because I started to surround myself with people like you guys. Now, the problem was that in my circle, there are very wealthy people, right? I'm mid 50s. Some of our friends are chief commercial officers, CEOs, right? The head of McKinsey of North America, right? They have $4 million homes, $5 million homes. But I was always looking around going, well, yeah, like that's for them. And I have more than enough. I'm never going to be able to spend all my money in my lifetime. But I wasn't really like driving toward the growth that I want. It doesn't necessarily have to be money, right? I just wasn't hard charging toward that growth. But once I started to surround myself with people that were really swinging for the fences, that were growing personally, professionally, growing their wealth, growing their knowledge, I realized that I had a ceiling. I didn't know I had a ceiling. I used to look at people, I've always said to myself, wouldn't it be nice to have a private jet? Why? Well, because I love to travel. Mm-hmm. But, I had never said, well, why not me? Mm-hmm. So the crazy thing is I just hadn't said, why not me in some of those areas, mostly because I had a lot of room to move around. I don't know. I don't really need that much more. And maybe I don't need that much more, but I like to have that much more because maybe I want to give it away. Maybe I want to, there's things that you could do with money other than just stockpile it for yourself. So once I got into the rooms, I surrounded myself with these, different people who are thinking dramatically different than the mainstream thinking. it shattered the glass ceiling that I was bumping up against and didn't know I was bumping up against. And look, I'm an action taker, right? So once I realized I have mindset issues, I was willing and able to take a look inside. Do I have mindset issues? Wow, that's an interesting idea. Let me take a look at that. Let me uncork that. And once I uncorked it and I looked inside, you know what I found, you guys? I realized I'm just like my dad. My dad was the CEO of a drug company. He has more money than he's ever going to be able to spend in his lifetime. He's 88. He's at the end of his life. But God forbid he won't go and spend money on care for himself because he's afraid of not having enough to hand over to his kids.
Mm-hmm.
He's never going to spend it all. So once I realized, and it drives me crazy when I watch him doing that, and I thought, wow, I don't want to do that. So I shifted my mindset. So I'm going to speed up. I shifted my mindset. I said to my husband, I'm just going to tell you one story which you guys are going to appreciate. So my husband's a physician. We used to drive a Tesla years ago. We got hit on the 9094 and it cracked the Tesla in half. We drove away. We were perfectly fine. And he said to me, I'm just going to go and buy another Tesla. And I said, oh, no, we don't need another car. And he said, well, Rhea, I'd like to have it. And I said, do you really think that's prudent? We had just started our business and we were moving back downtown. It's a long story. And I said no to the Tesla because I thought it was too expensive. And so for 7 years, every year he would come to me, I'm going to go buy my new car this year. We had more than enough money to go and buy the car. And I would say no. And I made us drive our crappy 2008 Audi straight through until 2023. And he came to me again and said, I would like to go and buy myself. Rhea, I'm a physician. I've worked for 33 years as a physician. Can I please just go buy my Tesla? And you know what I did? I said, yes, go get it today. That was literally me shattering that notion that there was never going to be enough money.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
It was an incorrect assumption that I had been operating under that I had to let go of. And here's the crazy thing, once I let go of that and I got more comfortable moving around in a much larger way, crazy things happened to me. Like larger deals landed in my lap and I was able to say, yes. Not, well, I don't know. Let's take a look at that. What do you mean? I don't know. Take a look at that. I mean, you need 500,000. You have 500. Go do that deal, Rhea. But I was like, I can't let go of that money.
Mm-hmm.
The scarcity mindset.
Scarcity.
Mm-hmm. That's something that you now recognize that you got from your father, and that's, our money stories that we tell ourselves often come from our families and our upbringing, right? And I know somebody that has had the same money story like you, very lack and scarcity, and you got to hang on to it, you got to save it, don't you dare spend it, don't even think about investing because that's just really, really risky. And so changing that narrative and identifying that you have a money story and that you can shift from a lack and scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. And when you do, it completely changes not only how you see the world, but then how the world gives back to you, right? Which is amazing.
Even if you had told me, Matt, if you had said to me, trust me, Rhea, this is what will happen to you, I would have said, oh, I don't believe that. I just, right? I mean, there's just some things. Look, I've learned over the last year and a half that I don't have all the answers, and it's okay for me to say, well, I don't know, but I'm going to just take the step and see what happens. Because, in the world of commercial brokerage, tenant representation, which is what I do, it's very aggressive, right? It's very, we hunt, we kill, right? You don't necessarily trust what other people say. And, I've learned with the community of people that I have around me now to listen very carefully and say, there's someone I trust. They're telling me that this is what they did and this is the result that they had. And there must be something to that. Instead of going, he doesn't know what he's talking about. She doesn't know what she's talking about. I'm not going to listen to that. Instead, I go, maybe there's something to that. And a little more sort of trust in what other people that I respect are doing. And then actually taking the action, the step, whatever it is. Here's what happened. I don't know, I can't see the correlation between these two things, but here's what happened. So when I started lending on real estate deals, I was doing small deals, like 65,000, 75,000. Like I have a lot of money I can lend. And I was like doing these small deals because I was like super worried. Like, what if something goes sideways? And I did have a deal go sideways. I got wiped out $75,000 on one deal. But as I got more comfortable swinging around a little bit more, I started doing bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger deals because I recognize this is like a basket of stocks, right? You're going to diversify. I started actually saying yes and then figuring out the back end, right? We bought the hotel. We'll figure out how to raise the money afterward, right? We bring in the right people, 400,000 down, and we raised $2.3 million. Money's gone hard. We better be able to raise 2.3. Well, now instead I'm saying, of course we're going to raise 2.3. It shouldn't be a problem. Now, part of me is sitting there going, I don't know. I've never raised $2.3 million. Can I do it? The other part of me is saying, of course you can. There's other people that have done it, and you're just going to take the action and it'll happen for you. What's happened though is that all of these things have come together. Like I just did a $500,000 EMD deal where we made $150,000 in less than 60 days. Now, if my lending deal that had gone sideways had scared me too much and, oh gosh, scarcity, you just lost 75. Well, I just made 150. Like that's just one deal, right? And so instead of being paralyzed by that loss, right? Again, scarcity, trust me, I was not happy. It was keeping me up at night when I knew I was going to completely get wiped out as a junior lender. And then once I made a decision, let go, move on, it didn't keep me up at night anymore. I continued to lend. I continued to look at deals, recognizing that some of the deals are going to go bad. And what's happened is I'm really comfortable now in all of these areas, right? The other last crazy thing to tell you, and I don't know if this was, serendipity, whatever. But we had been looking at raising capital for our company for a couple of years. And then we stopped raising because the capital environment had changed a little bit. And when I changed my mindset and sort of opened up to this sort of position of abundance, this capital partner came back to us that had come to us a year previous and said, are we ready for a discussion? And I said, yes. And what happened was we were able to strike a deal with them that was a deal that is not what we are worth today, but it's really what we're going to be worth in 2 years. And so we were able to extract a future value from that capital partner that would not have happened if I had been in this mindset of like, no, we're not in the right place, right? No, we don't want to talk about it right now. So I've conditioned myself now, you guys. What I say is yes, and maybe we should think about this rather than, no, I need to look at that, right? Yes. Can we also think about X, Y, and Z? Yes. I say yes to things. I still think about them, but I say yes to things more than I say no. No is my automatic, no. I don't have time. That's not going to be for me. I have too many things going on. I don't want to put that much money out at any one time because, it hasn't come back yet. All of my money is deployed. I have money coming back today. I was like, we need to send this money right back out. It cannot come back in because it's not working for me.
That's right.
Well, it's so much easier and more comfortable to say no and to talk yourself out of opportunities that maybe you're not quite sure about rather than to say yes. And we've learned also that no in our world is never a no. It's a maybe not right now.
Yeah.
But you just have to keep going. And I love that despite the one deal that went haywire, because for a lot of people, that would have been the turning point where they would have said, this is just not for me. I'm not meant to do this. This is my sign to step away. And in fact, for you, it was just your sign to keep going. And what happened afterwards made that deal completely insignificant, because what you went on to do after was so much bigger.
Yeah, and it happened very quickly too. So interesting that you had the belief that no, this is not a sign that I should stop or slow down or quit or give up. You had the belief that you would succeed. You had a belief that the universe would provide, and that everything in the supply is abundant. And I think a lot of that has to do with, and I don't know how much work you've done on self-image, but when you speak, like Tamar and I can both hear the way you talk, Rhea, you have such a very strong self-image, to have that confidence in yourself to say, I haven't done this before. It's probably quite terrifying, but I'm going to do it anyway because I believe in me, right? And that self-image, I mean, we train our clients all the time on how to improve their self-image,
Right.
to attain that type of confidence and to see themselves in the mirror in that way, the way that you see yourself, the way that you see yourself already as accomplishing, thinking from the end of, I haven't done it, but I know I can do it. And I'm going to move forward, even though I maybe don't have all the answers, I'm going to do it anyway, which is remarkable. And I think that's the 1%, like to have that self-image of absolute success. I see it in myself every single day, no matter what the external environment is showing me, right? I know that I am a powerhouse and I'm going to get after it, right? And I think that's extraordinary. Tamar loves the self-image.
I do, because it's so important.
Yeah.
Right? It's the essence of success. And in a world where 30% of real estate investors are women, this is going to be a huge part of other women's success. So what advice do you have for women and men who are maybe thinking of investing? They're not quite sure. They want to do it. They don't know. What advice do you have for somebody who might be interested in getting started?
Yeah. So let's talk about that image of yourself, because that's really, really important. So I've always had a very strong self-image, right? I don't suffer from, a lack of self-esteem, that in fact, I might have a little too much self-esteem. My husband sometimes says to me, wow, you think you're great. I do. Because my parents have always instilled that sort of right in me. So I've never suffered from, right, I can't do this, right? I've climbed mountains, I've run marathons, right? Like I've always pushed myself and said, well, like if you can do this, like I can do this. But that scarcity mindset though, like that sort of kind of pulled me back. Like, what if I lose money for my family? My husband's very conservative. Right. And so conservative financially as well. And so when I'm playing with our money, my fear is, what if I make a mistake and I have to explain something to him? It's different when it's just me. But what I had to do was get comfortable with failing. It's okay. You don't want to make a mistake that sinks you as an investor. Right. And so going back to the self-image thing. So the self-image, right? I think for any new investor, male or female, right, you have to get comfortable really looking inward at yourself, right? Do I have the ability to execute on these transactions? Do I have the financial wherewithal to do this number of transactions? Because what if things go a little bit sideways? Do I have the emotional intelligence to deal with things when they go sideways? Because I might have to tell a partner, hey, guess what? I'm not able to do X, Y, or Z. A lot of people don't have the emotional intelligence. And so they end up just getting angry, or they hide, or they lie, and they dig themselves in deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's a problem. So it's a it's an issue that I think every investor has to do a deep sort of inward look. They have to make sure that they have a level of confidence and a level of emotional intelligence that they can deal with things that are really, really good and really, really bad and everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I would say is get comfortable being uncomfortable. So I'm comfortable being, I've been uncomfortable a lot in my life. And I think it's like a muscle, right? I've been on the side of a mountain with a whole bunch of guys on a rope, right? Thinking I'm terrified. Like if we start sliding down Mount Rainier, I'm going to have to self-rescue or group rescue. You group rescue by, sticking in your ice axe and like holding the rest of the team. Or running a marathon, you're at mile 22, right? I'm in Hawaii with my brother and I'm like, I can't stop right now, even though my whole body is screaming stop because I want to get to the finish line with my brother. Or this is terrifying. I'm going to do a $500,000 EMD deal. And what if something goes wrong? Well, what if it goes right? So like playing that game, playing it all through in your head, and then knowing that like you're going to have butterflies in your tummy. It's going to feel a little uncomfortable. You're going to map everything out and then you're going to do it. You're going to take the action. And if you aren't entirely comfortable doing it on your own, hold hands with somebody that can walk you through it, right? Go and find a partner and say, I'm a little scared to do this, but I know you've done this before. Can we do it together? Right?
Yeah, it's huge.
Or do it alone and just know you're going to have sleepless nights. You're going to be terrified and walk through it anyways.
Yeah. And failure is part of the process. You can't have big success without having some glitches along the way. There's a really hilarious Brian Tracy quote that said, you're constantly navigating from problem to problem. And if you're not having a problem, it's because you're having a crisis. So, right? So it becomes about being able to navigate and pivot and problem solve as you go. That's part of the process.
Yeah. The problem solving, I love. So, right. Our job as real estate investors is to problem solve. We're problem solving for ourselves, for the seller who's selling us their asset, no matter what it is. It could be single family, it could be multifamily, it could be mobile homes, it could be land. But you're going to be problem solving through the entire transaction. Like if it's smooth as silk, and yes, there are moments where it's just, if you're an operator, it's not going to be smooth all the time, right? They're going to be, but that's why
smooth ever.
It's not smooth ever.
But that's why we get paid to solve problems.
Yep.
So every once in a while, right, I'll be complaining. Got to learn how to stop complaining also to my husband about, and he'll say, that's why you get paid the big bucks. And I'm like, you're right. That's why I get paid what I get paid, because I have to go through, navigate, and problem solve things that other people are not willing to navigate through or problem solve. That's why they won't make that money. And then I'm reminded, this is why I'm making what I make. Same thing with selling our business. There wasn't another husband and wife team that was willing to put $1.4 million on the line to build a company all the way into their 50s and go, I don't know, are we going to sell this for a multiple of EBITDA? I don't know. Right? Are we going to be able to do this? You have to take a certain amount of risk, and you have ups and you have downs and you're problem solving. That's why you get paid what you get paid.
Mm-hmm. The bigger the problems that you can solve, the more money you'll make, because the more valuable you become. And I think that's true with any industry. And getting, I want to go back to your comment about being uncomfortable. There's levels of discomfort. And for me, like when I was working shift work, it was very uncomfortable, but more than the uncomfort of having to work night shift and carry a lot of gear on the job was the discomfort of not getting ahead in life. And that's the discomfort that drove me to a place now where I'm 10 times more uncomfortable, where my net worth has, I don't even know, 1,000x in under a year. We went from $65,000 in debt to our net worth is in the millions, and we have no money. And to think
You're
like
doing it
we're
right.
living, like if I thought back a year ago and said like you're going to be a multimillionaire, but you're not going to have any money, but living with that discomfort and knowing and having the belief and that self-image that I am going to keep building and keep solving those problems day after day after day, and that consistency and that drive and that belief is what builds it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's key. So, I mean, you said it perfectly, because being an entrepreneur, you need to be able to be uncomfortable, but you definitely, like you said, also need to have that emotional intelligence, because solving problems takes a level of creativity, and you need to be able to handle those as they come at you. And sometimes they come at you multiple times per day. The punches just keep coming.
Right. And
Yeah.
I have this sort of visual image, and I have said this multiple times, sometimes on my social channels, like I can get kicked in the teeth a lot. I've learned how to get kicked in the teeth over and over and over and over again, and how to get back up. I've learned how to take those kicks and get back up, right? And not be crushed by what's actually happening. And I really do believe that's like a muscle. Like you can strengthen that. Like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, look, there's another thing that's gone sideways. All right. Now we're just going to have to navigate through that. And if you have a bunch of them in succession, right? Gosh, that's uncomfortable. But you're like, oh yeah, look. Oh, they're coming in waves now. Okay. So I'm just going to buckle up and solve. I want to talk about one thing that you talked about. So, right, you increase your net worth and right, but like you have no liquidity. Well, you're doing it right. So I used to think that my liquidity was making me comfortable. Mm-hmm. I was so comfortable because I had lots of money sloshing around. And like, if anything happened, right, people talk about, well, you need to have 6 months worth of reserves. I mean, like I had like a year or more of reserves, right? And we have a fairly large lifestyle just in case. I don't have any liquidity. In fact, when we sold our company and the funds transferred, I had a plan right away. I got to deploy, because that money needs to be working. Mm-hmm. Instead of saving it, it needs to be out making money. So the velocity of money now is absolutely key. So I don't even really look at, the net worth piece. Yeah, that's great, but I can't eat on my net worth, right? Yes. So I have only a certain amount, right, that I know comes in and goes out, and that takes care of my daily life expenses. And the rest of it is deployed 100%. And I say to Mohammed, who's my director of finance, you are responsible to make sure that money is working. Because if I have a couple $100,000 coming back and it's sitting there and it's not working, then I'm looking at the aggregate average, like if they're lending deals, what is our average lending rate right now? And if it starts to slip a couple of points, it's because the money's not working. Mm-hmm. Right? So I want it all out at all times, always. And when there's excess coming in, now I got to find more places to put it, because I learned by being around people like you and others who were doing that. That's not how I operated. Mm-hmm. It's completely changed. And I'm comfortable. I'm super comfortable, right? Because by the way, I've never been hungry. I've never been homeless. Like those are things that are not going to happen to me. Mm-hmm. Maybe I can't go out and buy the Tesla next week because I'm not liquid.
Yeah.
But do I need it?
Right. Exactly.
And it's a reverse in our logic to actually think that it's a good thing to not be liquid, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's so much more comfortable to have that money sitting in the bank. And I have a similar money story to you, where my parents always taught me that you have to save for the rainy day and your money has to be put away until you retire, and then you live modestly, and that's how life goes, right? And so to get results that are not logical, to get to generational wealth and to get your money working for you, you actually have to do something that's not logical to most people.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you guys a story. So when our transaction closed, we opened up 3 infinite banking policies. We had them all lined up when the sale of the transaction, the funds flow. And we contributed huge amounts, like large amounts. And essentially, so our death benefit is like $15 million. My son, right, who's 16, so it just basically ensured that he is a multimillionaire because we're going to die. We shut off all of our term life policies. We don't need term life now. And then we pulled and borrowed all of the money out from those policies, right, to deploy those out. That is like that whole strategy, though. I lined it all up ahead of time. And I was like, okay, I talked to lots of different people. And I talked to a couple of other like high net worth individuals. They knew nothing about it. So I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So a little bit like I was a little fearful, like, ooh, am I doing this right? Because most people who've sold their businesses, we have some friends who sold their businesses for huge amounts of money. And they said, well, you need a wealth manager. Oh, you need this, you need that. And I was like, well, I better go and get one of those. And then I thought, no, I don't. No, I don't. At some point, maybe I will have something like that to do the work. But right now, I want to map out how I'm going to do. And nobody was talking about, like in the wealth management space, these infinite banking. I was like, well, then I can't use them. Mm-hmm. So we went ahead and we did it, and we plowed that money into it, and then we borrowed that money out, and we started deploying it. And effectively, like I look at now, like my son will never, for generations to come, because my son also has an infinite banking policy. Nice. Right? He's 16. So, again, like that's a crazy mindset shift. I know no one in my circle that does anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, that, like you said, go ahead.
No, I was just out of curiosity, I'm dying to know, is your son interested in following in your footsteps? Is he involved in the business?
He did his first loan, which was he borrowed from his infinite banking policy, $45,000. He did it at I think it was either 15 or 17% in 2 points to somebody in our mentorship in second position. Nice. And he actually worked in my land business this summer with our customer service team, calling sellers and sending offers. So he's not interested. So my husband's an intellectual, and my son is an intellectual. He wants to be an engineer, but he also is very comfortable in his skin. So I could see him doing something in the engineering world, but for himself, because he's got the entrepreneurial spirit as well as the raw intelligence to do something really big, like change the world with a biofuel, right?
Amazing. That's amazing. I wanted to touch on something because, Rhea, like you're talking very high level. So you're talking about infinite banking, you're talking about private equity, exiting companies. These are very high level things for most people. Like the majority of the population will never experience private equity or infinite banking. But there's a reason why, and it's not because they can't. And I love that you said that earlier on, that you were raised never to know that you can't do anything. So it's like that word was taken out of your vocabulary. It's, Rhea, you can do anything that you want. Anything that you believe you can do.
Yeah.
And so what I take from those stories and from your life and your journeys is a very clear message, is that everything is built on how you see it and the way that you think about it. And that is your mindset. Because had you not had the correct mindset, you may not have ever sold your company. You may not have ever invested in real estate. You may not have ever explored infinite banking, right? So having the mindset of being open and wanting to learn, right? And having that mindset of, well, this is the traditional path that everyone else takes. Mm-hmm. But maybe it's not the only path.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a better path, and I want to explore it. And I want to learn as much about it as possible, because maybe there's a way better way of doing things. And when you start to not even turn the page, I'd say get rid of that book and find a new library, and you realize, holy cow, there is a total other side of the world. There's a total other side of life where everything is abundant and creative, and there is no limit. Like you said, there's no more glass ceiling. There's no more limit on your potential and how much you can create in this world. And I think that's really phenomenal. I think you're an exceptional example of that embodiment of someone who has such a strong self-belief and direction and vision in their life, paired with the openness to learn, which is really powerful.
Well, that's actually the foundation. If you don't have what you just talked about, right? The ability to say, maybe there's a different way. Maybe there's a different way to think about myself, my capabilities. Am I in a box that I have been put in either by myself or by my life circumstances or by the messages that were sent to me by my community, my upbringing, my parents, whatever. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just the way that it was. And then seeking out people, mentors, mentorships that can help you expand how you think, or what you said, throw that book away. Wait a minute. This is not my story. My story is something completely different. Now, for me, I didn't have to throw the book away, right? Because I already had a lot of confidence. Well, I can do anything. I was raised like, Rhea, you can do anything. I mean, I probably can't do brain surgery, but mostly I can do anything if I learn it, if I have enough time, and if I believe that I can do it.
Yeah.
But I have to, somebody has to help you expand your thinking. I wasn't seeking a change in my mindset. That was the problem, and why I was in this more traditional. And by the way, what I did before I started investing, there's nothing wrong with that. I was having a great life, right? Was going to retire very comfortably. And by all, measures, somebody would look and say, that was a successful life. But to me, I was like, there's so much more. Is this it? I mean, I was really sort of questioning, like, is this it? Is this all I'm going to do? And so questioning that, and then leaning in toward, first of all, I'd never joined a mentorship. I'd never, I'm cheap, so I don't like to spend $8,000 or $12,000. I was like, that's a lot of money, And then subsequent to that, I spent $30,000, then I spent $8,000, then I spent $2,500. I mean, I've spent like $65,000. I mean, now I'm like, why haven't I been doing this all my life? So I tell people now, as anyone that will listen, you have to pay for your own growth. You have to pay to get into rooms or to have coaches or to have mentors or to have people help you grow. Or you have to be the kind of individual that goes and seeks that out relentlessly all day, every day. You can do it on your own. It's probably going to take you a lot longer if you don't have the money, right?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Some people don't have it, and you don't have to. You can do it on your own. It's going to take you a lot longer. But like we go and spend money on, a $400 dinner, or people, they have multiple subscriptions, or they get on a plane and go to Vegas, but they won't spend, Cheapo over here wouldn't spend 8 or whatever it was to join a mentorship, but I'll, fly first class to Thailand with my family. Like I wasn't thinking about, wait a second. Yeah. So now that I know all of this, I do things very differently now. Now I know, I have mindset issues. Those people know how to do it better than I do. I'm going to go and get into their world. When people say to me, hey, Rhea, can you jump on a plane and come here this weekend? We're going to have a meetup. Yes, I will be there. And, I'm going to see my dad, and I'm going to hang out with these awesome people, right? Like I get on a plane and I do it because I have learned that when I put myself in close proximity to people that do things differently, that think about things differently, through osmosis, through proximity, through divine, whatever you believe, right? The universe, woo-woo, I don't care what it is. Something happens. I'm not a woo-woo person. I'm very black and white, right? So I'm, I have a hard time with that. But I've watched it happen with myself. My husband looks at me. He's like, wow, you're talking about mindset again. I'm like, I know. Where's that coming from? But it's happened over and over and over again for me. But I'm like, I'm just getting started. Like I know that if I'm able to greatly expand, because like my mindset shifted and changed, but I haven't blown the lid off yet. Like I lent on a deal for someone to buy a $39 million multifamily. Why wasn't I buying the $39 million multifamily?
Yes.
I'm just the lender of I'll lend them 500,000. I'll make 650,000 back. I should have been buying the $39 million multifamily.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's because I haven't been taking the action to go after those deals. Okay, well, that's a change now I know I need to make.
I love that.
Yeah.
Huge. I mean, mindset for us and for you, I mean, we're also scratching the surface. Tamar and I had huge leaps and bounds in our own mindset shifts early on, and then became coaches after taking our mindset program. And like you said, when you start to take those programs to accelerate your growth, they really, really change the trajectory of your life. And for us, it changed the entire direction of our lives. Tamar was working for a company, from home, a company, an American company. I was working in law enforcement. Now our entire lives a year later have completely changed from changing our mindset, right? And so when you talk about like when you put energy, time, and money into paying for that acceleration from a mentor, a coach, a program, it is, I think there's a difference between the cost and the value, because like we say, there's a cost, right? It costs 8,000, 10,000, 20,000. The value is so much more than the cost, right? Exponentially, infinitely more valuable than the cost, right? Which is amazing once you realize it, I think, right?
But you have to get there. Like,
Yeah.
no matter what you told me back then, no matter what you said to me, I would have said, really? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Right?
We'll
Yeah.
see.
We'll see.
I love it.
I mean, and then, right, you do it enough times. I was like, oh, I'm going to buy assets with other people's money. Well, oh, okay, well, let's see how that goes. And then, I bought the first one, then I bought the second one, then I bought another one and another one and another one. Then I bought a hotel, then I bought a lake. And then I do, we're on track to do like $1 million in our land business. And I'm like, oh, and then I sell my company and right now I know, right now my horizons are here, but they're still just here. Right. And now I look at people like Grant Cardone or Jerry Norton or Pace Morby or Vina Jetty. And I'm like, why not me?
Yeah.
Of course. Why not? Of course me. I belong in the same exact rooms doing the same exact things.
Yep.
There's nothing different about them and me.
No.
Absolutely. What an amazing outlook and an amazing belief in yourself when you realize that you have inside of you, and as do each of us, an infinite potential to do whatever we want in this life. And when we really believe in that goal and in that purpose, and I love that you touched on it. Sorry, I know I'm taking up most of the mic time. I love that you said that you were very accomplished in your life and you were very comfortable and you were making good money, yet there was still something missing, right? And I think that really speaks to the fact that money is not everything in life, and that you really need to go and find purpose. And when you go out and I think the goal is to have the growth, right? And that's why I think for us, personal development is so important, because growth, when you inject growth into your life, you find purpose.
Yeah.
And I think you would agree with that.
Yeah, totally. I will tell you, you said it, comfortable. I was comfortable, but I felt like, is this it? Is this, I want to go out of this world burned up, spent completely, like that I gave it my all. I am an extremist, right? I love to swing for the fences. I love to see, like, what am I actually capable of, right? Can I push it even further than I have? And I now know I am just scratching the surface. I believe I am just scratching the surface. And I will tell you, there was an impetus for some of this. So my mom died last year. And
I'm sorry.
as she was dying, right, one of the things that happened was I remember her talking to me like, sweetie, like, because my mom's the one who said, like, you can do anything. Like, you're different than other people, Rhea. She would say things like that to me.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. And then she died. And I thought, dang it, I need, like, this is not a dress rehearsal. Like, you get one life.
mm-hmm.
And my mom was a badass, right? She was a quiet badass. She was very gentle. She was very loving. She was different than I am. I'm not gentle, right? She was super gentle, super kind, but she was creative and entrepreneurial. And in her own way, she swung for the fences. And so when she died, I looked around and I was like, dang it, like I'm only working with a thimbleful of what I've got. Like, time to like shift it into high gear. And I also know now, call it networking, call it whatever you want. I was like, well, I'm too busy. I'm busy living my life. I will meet as many people as I possibly can, because I never know, out of like 50 people, when I have like this gem, right? Like I meet you, and now I meet Tamar, and like, right? Like you never know where the next amazing relationship that's going to help unlock something in yourself, right, comes from. But you also, right, I didn't live a huge life of service. Like, I just want to be really honest with you, right? In commercial real estate, like, we're like killing each other to get the next $100,000 deal.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a lot of like, how can I help you? My pleasure. How do I show up and be of service? I think about everything I do now. Even when I'm lending, I am helping someone else get a deal done that they aren't going to be able to do. I am showing up and being of service. I am playing a role in this transaction to help the operator do what they need to do, or help the seller get out of a situation that they need to get out of. And so the way that I think about the transactions or the deals or the work that I do is I'm showing up to be of service. I'm going to get something in return for showing up and being of service, but it's all about, how do I show up?
Mm-hmm.
And if I show up and I play my role, even when things go sideways, like when I was getting wiped out the $75,000, I was like, okay, this is not so good, right? But, showing up, being of service, figuring out how you can reframe what can I take out of this? Now, trust me, I'm taking something out of it, right? I'm going to earn a return. I'm going to, whatever it is. But I always try to think about it as I'm playing a role that is helping someone else. And if I remember that, then I show up differently.
Definitely.
Yeah, I love that. You're touching so beautifully on the benefit of adding value.
Yeah.
Right? Leaving everybody that you come into contact with better than before they met you.
Even when, I have to say this, even when you have to deliver a difficult message. So I'm working with a partner right now that's in default. We own a sub-2 together, and he's in default, and I do all of the finances. So, and it's the summer, and it's Florida, and we have a shortfall, and he's not paying his portion of the sub-2 mortgage or his portion of the private money lender. And so I have to pay it. And right. So, am I angry? Yeah. Am I annoyed? Yeah. But what I find most challenging is that even when things go bad and I have to deliver a difficult message, right? I have to have a conversation with my partner, who's my friend. It's not the conversation I want to have, but showing up in the most professional way and delivering a difficult message in the most loving, professional, and honest, transparent way that I can is my job, right? And so I'm able to do really difficult things. I really don't want to. I just want to like ignore it and make it go away, and maybe he'll pay me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can't. And so suit up, show up, and be of service, which is deliver a truthful, accurate message on where I am and how I'm thinking about this and what we're going to do. And then don't worry about what the results are, because he's going to get angry and mad and whatever, based on the emotional intelligence that people have or don't have. That's not my responsibility. So even when you have to deliver a difficult message, when things are going great, it's great. Even when things are not going well, it's like, how do I show up and be of service? I have to be of service. I have to tell him, look, I'm going to pay these things, and then I'm going to hold you responsible for what is in the written agreement. Hard message to deliver, but it is one that has to be delivered.
So what's on the horizon for Rhea Campbell? What do the next few years look like for you? What do you have in the works?
So we'll follow along the vein of mindset. Because I have recognized that this is the foundation of everything that has changed dramatically for me since January of 2023. A lot of things have happened in 2023 and in 2024. And we're, almost in fourth quarter of 2024. I am going to create a vision board. If you'd asked me what a vision board was before, I wouldn't have known. I would have been like, what is that? I'm going to create a vision board. I'm going to create a written set of goals. Now, I have some very clear goals, but I'm going to create a written set of goals that I look at mindfully and intentionally every single day.
Yes.
Because, you can't get to where you're not sort of like pointing at. Sometimes you point at it, but you go a little sideways, So I've got to map those out, and then I'm going to work toward those goals, right? I'm going to deliver on what I promised to the company that bought my company, right? Because we're in earn-out, so you don't get to walk away when they come in and buy you. You have usually a certain amount of time that you are locked up. But I am going to deliver, because my responsibility was to deliver to them what it is that we promised in that 2-year time frame. And I'm going to see what unfolds as a result of doing that foundational work, because I know when I do that foundational work, that again, things open up, new relationships happen, right? Things get unlocked in my mind around what is it that I want to do? I do know that I belong in the large commercial space, right? That's what I've done for 22 years. Why was I buying single family homes? I don't ever want to buy another single family. If I need it for depreciation, that's totally different. But I should be doing the large, right? $100 million deals.
Yeah.
There's no reason why am I not doing those deals? So that's out there, but I've got to lay that foundation of the mindset, the goals, the vision board, the visioning, and then start to put the milestones in place, right? The mini milestones before you get to each one of those maybe more major milestones, and start working, create a plan, and then start working my plan.
Yeah.
We teach our clients that every day.
Yeah. I was just going to say, you said something so important, which is that it takes just as much effort and energy to plan for the really big goals as it does to plan for the really small things. So why not think big?
Right. Or not plan. Many people just drift through life without actually planning. Or, what is your North Star? What are you working toward? So if you're drifting through life, and don't get me wrong, good things are happening and wow, this is amazing. I have an amazing life. That might be enough for you, but it isn't for me, right? And I know that I need to be really intentional. I need to build the foundation and be really intentional about what it is that I'm now working towards. So big things coming. I'm putting the small pieces in place. I'm holding office hours once a week now. We're getting ready to announce when those are, because again, this is me giving back. I recognize that there might be other women, right, in real estate who don't feel super confident. If they could just talk to another woman about, hey, I'm stuck. And I'll say to them, what are you stuck with? Okay, let me tell you what I would do. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I'll tell you what I would do. And if they need a little nudge, give them a little nudge. It could be a woman, could be a man. It doesn't matter. But is there a way for me to impart some of my knowledge, some of my confidence to other people? That would be me being of service. And I know that when I get out of my own way and that when I'm of service, I talked about this a year and a half ago with PACE, this virtuous circle, right? Yeah. When you give out, it comes back to you twofold. And I now know that, right? Yeah. And I'm just going to do and see what happens.
I love that. I love the law of receiving. That was one I had to learn when I originally started raising capital, was before I could ever receive and get anything, I needed to first be of service and give to others. And when I became of value to as many people as I could reach, that's when the universe delivered it back to me. And that's when the abundance came and the capital and the deals, right? So the law of receiving is hugely important. Yeah. And once you understand it and how to actually work with it, life really opens up. So
yeah.
We're approaching the hour mark, Rhea. So let's wrap it up, because I think you and I and Tamar, we could probably all talk
another hour.
We could keep going.
Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for taking the time to share your journey, your story, and your experience and wisdom with everyone. Yeah. It's extremely valuable. Thank you so much. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
Yes, Instagram. So it's Rhea Campbell, all one word, _ORD for Chicago.
Love it. Love it.
Thank you so much, Rhea. It's been amazing.
Yes. You guys are amazing. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate you both.
Likewise. We'll talk soon.
Okay, sounds great.
Right. Take care.